Welcome, welcome, welcome to this edition of Sagionic 1027. We are so excited that you have joined us today, and we have a lively guest to display to you today. But first, I would like to tell you a little bit about Sagionic 1027. Sagion means wisdom carrier, and Sagionic means movement by movement in time. So our goal at Sagionic is to display wisdom carriers such as Jessica and others who have either a business mentality to own their business, entrepreneurs that are always thinking of what's the next gig I could do, right? Or those who have implemented business mind management in, say, being at the same career, being at the same company for 31 years, like my amazing Steve. So our desire is that people, through listening to other people's business plethora of what they've accomplished over the years, what they've done and what they haven't done, I also want to add in, I really don't think there's such a thing called failure. Because you try something, oh snap, that didn't work, let's try it another way. Oh snap, that didn't work, let's try it another way. But failure would mean you just quit. And so I'm really, really excited to be able to hear what Jessica has to share and her journey that she's gone through throughout her career path and how she even got there to begin with. So with that, I'd like to introduce you officially to Jessica Lay out of Prineville. She's a realtor, she's an entrepreneur, she's a mom, she's a wife, and she is one of she's like a Pollyanna out there in Prineville, going around and making sure everybody's doing good. So Jessica, we are so glad you've joined us today, and I'm going to let you take it away and share with our audience what kind of wisdom would you like to pass along to them?
Well, awesome. Thanks for having me, Shawn. I'm so excited to be here. So I am just excited to share with everyone that's met Jane, just inspiration of basically follow your dreams and don't let anyone discourage you or shut you down, because there's such power in pursuing what you love, because when you're working out of your passion, there's nothing better. So that's my biggest hope of what viewers will take away from today. And I especially have a heart for the women out there and the moms who do the daily grind and maybe think, gosh, I can't do anything. I'm busy with my kids and I don't have enough time in the day and there's no way I can go get a job. But there's so many ways you can work and not have to even leave the home. So
yeah,
that's where I'm going to be.
That's good. Yeah. Okay, so straight out. Okay, so tell us this. I shared with our viewers that you're into real estate. Share with us how you got there. But I want you to go back a little further. Okay, so was Monopoly one of your favorite games, like mine? Or did you like to build forts? No, right? So really? go back. No, come on, Jessica. You have to have something in your childhood that would be a similar strand that got you here. So what was it? Go back. What was it back then?
Sure. Well, absolutely. So probably the best memory I could connect to now is when I was 12. I really wanted to make money, and I asked my dad, how can I get a job? And he's like, you're too young. Nobody will hire you. And I said, okay, well, how do I do my own business? And he's like, well, what's something you could practically do that a 12-year-old can do? And he said, why don't you mow lawns? And so he helped me buy my first lawnmower, and I made little flyers, and this was like the 90s, early 90s. There weren't really computers. I had to make these hand-drawn flyers, and I took them down to the local Kinko's and had them copied. And I cut them up, and I went around my neighborhood. We lived on kind of a block, a block, or a square block, I should say, not a round block.
Yeah.
And I went door to door and knocked on people's doors. And if they were home, I chatted with them about why they should hire me as a lawn mowing company at 12 years old. And I had a name for myself, and if they weren't home, I just left it on their door. Well, the first day I went around, I think I got 4 or 5 customers.
Wow.
And so every Saturday and sometimes Sunday, I would go weekly mow these people's lawns to earn money.
I want to know the name. What was your name?
So it was not very exciting. It was Jessica's Lawn Mowing Service. It wasn't very creative, but it worked.
it. Your signature, your signet.
Yep. Yep.
We're going to get to that name after a bit, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes,
And okay. So then that was business number one. And wow, what a coach. So it's okay. So let's just make note of this. You put yourself in a humble position, right? To ask questions, to ask questions of those around you. Then you were willing to receive advice on what somebody shared with you. Then you took the resources that you had. Okay. We didn't have photocopies, so I had to make out the end of those flyers for my first business.
Yes.
Okay. So you used the resources that you had access to. And now tell me, did your dad make you pay back the lawnmower that he bought for you?
So my dad was so kind. I would come to him after each lawn and I'd say, okay, well, he would always fill up my gas tank. I had a little 5-gallon tank for gas. And he would keep it full for me. And every time I'd come back from the lawn, I'd say, Dad, what do I owe you for the gas? And he'd say, oh, you don't owe me. We'll square up later. But he would say that every time. And so I always like kept money aside because I was waiting for that later day when I was going to owe him for my expenses. But I think that was the small contribution he could make because he saw me working so hard as a 12-year-old, you know, out there doing whatever I could to make some money.
Okay, now we're going to add another point. We are going to call the next point business finance management. So there at 12 years old, you were given financial wisdom instinctively because your dad extended grace, but instinctively inside of your mind, you thought, wait a minute, I need to be wise and set aside money. So we're going to call that business. Girlfriend, you're going to get clients out of this. Okay.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
Okay. So now, probably at 12 years old, that's junior high, right?
Yeah, I think I was 6th grade.
Okay. Now, did you guys over there in Eugene? Did you have a roller rink, a skating rink?
You know what? I don't. Yes, we did. We did over in Springfield.
Okay. So probably there was girls going to the skating rink, right?
Yes.
And that was a hot thing to do when you're in junior high is go to the skating rink. So you didn't get to go to all the things that everybody else did if your brain was thinking money, right? That's not a bad thing. It's a gift, motivated by money. By money. That's not bad, right? So tell us some different opportunities that came up and how. Well, first of all, let me ask you, how long did you have that business?
Gosh, I think I had it until I was 15 or 16. So, and then the reason why I kind of fizzled out because when I was 14, I went to my parents because we homeschooled, our whole family homeschooled our whole life. And I said, I really, really want to go to school. What would it take for me to go to school? And my parents just didn't feel comfortable sending us to public school. And so my mom said, well, you can go to private school if you pay your own way. And I don't think she thought I would take that seriously. So I took the local bus to the Christian school, the Christian high school in town, and I went there myself. I had a meeting with the principal, and he gave me a list of the tuition and how much it cost. And then I went home and I said, okay, I've got to make X amount a month to pay my tuition so I can go to school. So this sounds like a 100-year-old primitive story, okay? This is in the 90s.
This is great! Jessica, you're destroying excuse. You're destroying excuses when people say, they would say, well, I can't. She's just had a privileged life. No, you had to pay for your school at 15. Yeah. Okay, so go on.
So we lived like kind of kitty corner to the local taco time. So I walked over there at 14 because I knew I could get to work because I could walk.
Yeah,
and I applied for a job and they said, well, we don't really hire people till they're 15, but you seem like you're a hard worker and you live close, so we'll hire you. So I knew I did the math and I knew that I could make, work nights after school and sometimes on weekends and still do my lawn care and be able to make X amount. Well, I was still short about $150 a month for the tuition. So a lady from our church, who is now a realtor, by the way, she was super inspirational to me, Ruth Peel. She said, well, I'll let you come clean my house every Saturday and I'll give you the additional money you need to pay your tuition. So on Saturday mornings, I would go clean her house, top to bottom, a big 2-story home. And at that time, she was becoming becoming a realtor. I think she was in her 50s and she was taking all the courses to become a realtor. And so I was kind of watching her and seeing how she did it. And I just was like super inspired.
Okay.
So I was able to do those 3 jobs to pay my tuition.
And so, in other words, you didn't squelch down into. I don't even think. No discredit to anybody who may be undergoing this situation, but you didn't allow yourself to squelch down into doom and despair.
No.
Because you saw the goal, and the goal is what drove you.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. I knew that was my goal. I had to get it. It didn't matter. Failure wasn't an option. Saying no, like I didn't care if people told me no. I was like, okay, I'm on to the next. Who's next?
Yes.
Who's my yes? And I just kept going and going until I got yeses.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, what kind of material did you have around you? Because back then we didn't have YouTube, right? Back then we didn't have that kind of stuff. So what did you have that was fueling your mind that kept you in that zone of, back in the day they called it PMA, positive mental attitude. So what did you have that was fueling your mind with positive things to like, I'm going this direction?
Well, I have a huge faith in God, and my parents have instilled that for me from a very young age. And I was very involved in my youth group, and I just love God more than anything in the world, and I still do. And I just knew that that I had to keep trying, no matter what. It's going to work out, and that I just had to trust God and do right things and make positive steps, and it was all going to come together. Like I really have always been a very positive person. I'm not super negative. I think that helps to have like positive self-talk, but also
That's
I
right.
pray a lot. I go to the Word
Yes.
when I'm feeling discouraged or despair, and it always builds me up.
That's so good. That's so good. Now, okay, so this was this took us to what year? What year? And then you graduated at what year?
Sure. So I graduated high school at the Christian school in 2000 as
Okay.
salutatorian in my class at a 4.0 GPA. And so I was offered a full ride academic scholarship to Bend, Oregon at Central Oregon Community College. I came over here on my own, got an apartment, got a job. And, the first term, I just kind of was like, you know what? I don't know if college is right for me. It's kind of boring. Like, it's too easy. And I just feel like I have bigger plans in life. I just feel like I'm supposed to do something different. So my first year of college, I actually dropped out. Never thought that in a million years I would do that. I was like very scholastic. I loved school, and it was very unlike me. But I felt like I had a higher calling. Not that if you go to school, you don't, but I just felt like God had a bigger calling on my life. And so I dropped out, and I immediately went into YWAM, which is Youth with a Mission. It's a nonprofit missionary organization worldwide. And I spent a year studying kind of like a Bible school, and then went and spent 4 months in Thailand building orphanages and meeting people and giving people food. And that just kind of changed my perspective on the world and of life. And then I came home and I was kind of like, what do I do with my life? I don't know what I'm doing. And I really wanted to build orphanages around the world. And so I was like determined to do it. But here I am, 19 years old, not a lot of money in my pocket and a lot of drive, but no backing. And I didn't know what to do. I kind of, for the first time in my life, felt like kind of a loser. I just felt like, what am I doing with my life? I dropped out of college. Here I am broke, living back with my parents. What am I going to do? And I had big, big, big dreams. I thought I was going to live barefoot in Africa the rest of my life, helping serve kids. And then I bumped into my husband and got married and started having kids, and sort of my dreams were put on pause. And I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get back to him because I was busy being a mom, raising babies, covered in spit up all day. And I thought, I'm never going to do anything with my life.
Okay, we're gonna camp out there. If we got to camp out there for a second, because humans exist because there was mom that had babies. Okay,
that's true.
Humans exist. Okay, we got to camp. This is important because if we don't camp out here for a minute, then and I'm raising my hand, okay, because I think it's a struggle that we go through subconsciously to consciously want to be validated that we're of importance. Okay. And it doesn't seem important. Okay. To my list was 5 loads of laundry a day. My list was, you were sleep deprived for 20 plus years, right? And so it didn't seem like it was a validating point, and yet it was, to sow into the children. And I think that, it's like, okay, let's think of excellency for a second. Joyce Meyer shared one time, show me your work ethic and I'll show you your ministry. Okay. This is probably going to like push some people off their stool at the island. Okay. If you are flimsy, flopsy, sloppy, messy, I don't really give a care in your home, do not think for 2 seconds that you're going to go out there in the field and you're going to kill it. Don't think you're going to do it. Because I guarantee you, as we tap into Jessica's brain a little more, I guarantee you that she decided to excel within her home with, pouring into her children. Because it's not like, even though the dream didn't look the same, Jessica was still there. So can you break down a little bit into that? How did you transition yourself to see, wait a minute, I'm going to call it an assignment. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, here I am, a young mom, and poorer than poor, barely able to put food on the table because my husband was working really hard in a mill and I was a stay-at-home mom because I didn't have the heart to lead my kids. I just really wanted to be with them. And I just thought, okay, well, if this is where I'm at, Lord, let me excel, right? Like you said. And so I poured myself into my home. I started to get creative on how I was going to decorate because I wanted a beautiful space. And so I would start making things. I'd find like dressers on the side of the road and pick them up and paint them and turn them into beautiful brand new dressers for like my son's room. And I had to be super creative on a budget and figure out a way to make my home excellent. Because that was, like you said, that was my mission at the time, is to make my home beautiful, be the best wife I could be the best mom I could be, and have a beautiful home. And so that's really what I started to put my focus on. And then someone challenged me. I was talking to this friend of mine and I was saying, I feel like I'm not doing my homeing. Like there's all these kids in third world countries who don't have anything. And he actually challenged me. He said, well, what about all the kids here? Like you should be. And I was like, you're right. I'm going to prove this. I'm going to help kids in America. So I started making phone calls, trying to figure out ways I could help. And I stumbled upon, of course, the Department of Human Services in Eugene, Oregon. And I called them. I said, what do I do to help kids? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I go, well, how do I help kids that need help, that need parents, that need, and they're like, well, you could be a foster parent, but how old are you? And at the time I was 21. And they said, you're kind of young to be a foster parent. I mean, we wouldn't turn you away. Like you're married, you have a home. And I was like, yeah. And so next thing I know, we're enrolled in foster care classes and we're becoming foster parents. Because I was like, you're darn right. If I'm here for a while, if this is where God has me, I am gonna do the darndest best, and I will do whatever I can. So my husband and I, at the young age of 22 and 24, became the youngest foster family in Eugene, Oregon. We got like a little certificate for it, and within a couple months of being certified, we had 6 little kids living with us.
No,
Yeah.
At 22 and 24.
Yes, and it was intense. We did it for 2 years, and during that time, we had our son and Tristan. And so, at the highest point ever, we had 6 kids at one time, but that was for over 2 years. And during that time, kids come and go, but it was 6 under 6, and It was a lot. It was a lot, and we had some really challenging cases. So, over the course of a total of 4 years, we fostered 19 kids. And we ended up adopting one of those little girls. She is our first daughter now, Savannah. And it's a beautiful thing because when I was in high school, God told me that my first daughter would be Savannah. I'm sorry. I don't know why that takes me up, but God is so faithful. Like, he's so faithful. And he brought her to me in a completely unexpected way.
Oh, let's see. Jesus was in a shack.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. So we decided to adopt. We adopted our daughter, Savannah, and she was just 1 year older than our biological son, Tristan. And then at that point, we were like, gosh, this has been a really challenging few years. We're still really young. We think we want to kind of transition out of foster care. And my husband got a new job, and it took us to Coos Bay, Oregon, on the coast. And so we just kind of decided just to stop doing foster care for that time and just focus on our children. I found out I was pregnant with my next little baby, and, who's Chloe. She's a little girl. And so we just decided, like, we did our time and it's time for the next chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. But, and let's talk a little bit about this because I call him Negative Nancy, and I'm so sorry if a viewer's name is Nancy. Okay. But without naming names, this is really important. Okay. Without naming names, share some obstacles, even in when you and your husband, what's your husband's first name?
Dan.
Dan. When you and Dan decided to foster, probably everybody that was around you said that's a fabulous idea, right?
No.
So tell us how you guys decided to overcome the Negative Nancys and the Downer Dans.
I think absolutely everyone told us we were crazy and told us it was a horrible idea. And even our own family thought we were just literally gone crazy. And I think we just knew, like, it didn't matter what people said. We knew what God said. And that was the most important to us, that we were following what God told us to do. And we both had each other's back. And my husband was like the biggest strength for me because he always was encouraging and still is to this day. And I just think when you know you're in God's will, it doesn't matter what anyone says.
That's right. And just, I like that, became the focus, because that's the vision, that's the goal, that the vision and the goal is the focused, right? And would you say, because not necessarily all of our viewers are quote unquote Christians, okay? So how would you break that down for somebody who's not a Christian, that happens to be a human being bobbing around on earth? How would you define that to them?
I think even people who maybe don't have faith in higher being or God, I think they all have like a self-conscious and that voice, that inner voice that is, we all have self-thought too, and it can either be negative or positive. And you just have to fill your mind. Your mind is a powerful thing. Fill it with positivity. So whether that's, for me, it's scriptures and positive like inspirational quotes. I mean, you see an inspirational quote behind me that you're in our real estate office. It's important to fill your mind with positive thoughts and not, otherwise the negative will take over. It just,
That's right.
So it's like a daily habit of good attitude, and what you read, what you watch, what you spend your time doing. I don't spend a lot of time just watching TV all day long, right? Like, what would I get done? Not that that's anything wrong if you do, but I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm listening to podcasts that are like about entrepreneurship. I'm reading books that are about being a millionaire and a billionaire and an entrepreneur, right? So I am like literally filling my day with the things that I want to accomplish.
That's right. That's really good. Right here, I'm gonna pull out a little commercial right here. So in 1996, even though it's going to look backwards, I read this book called Hung by the Tongue. Okay, and it's by Francis P. Martin. Francis P. Martin. It's a simple read, transformed my life. I think this is a copy, but I want to say it was. Let's see when it was written. 79. But I read this in 1996, transformed my life. Okay, another book that was handed my direction was Being Happy, and this one is by Andrew Matthews. This is great for like a bathroom read because he breaks stuff down with comments, right? Incredible to just kind of like gingerly have something out there for the kids, right? Or any guests that come in. But those are my two books I'm going to share for today. So Being Happy by Andrew Matthews or Hung by the Tongue by Francis P. Martin. Incredible insights. And so that's huge because Zig Ziglar said, and I'm going to have the privilege to be able to interview Howard Partridge. He's going to be on the docket. And his coaching firm directly works with Zig Ziglar and with his son and all their coaching around the world. So I get to interview Howard Partridge soon. But Zig Ziglar said, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. So it talks a lot about the mind. And so now give us an example, Jessica, because you can't be Pollyanna perfect and have your mind perfect all the time. So give us like not a prescription, but what's like if something just like took your breath away, that was overwhelming, that made it seem like snap, this is it, we're never going to accomplish it. What's your go-to in that moment?
Well, kind of my little personal motto is you can cry about it for a day, but tomorrow you better get back up on your feet. So I
wait, I'm going to write it down and I need you to say it again. Say it again.
Gosh. Okay. So basically you can have a day, but tomorrow you better get back on your feet. So take a day, mourn it, cry about it, do what you got to do, but tomorrow you better get your butt up and get back on your feet. So it's okay to take a day. I mean, maybe that's 2 days for people, maybe that's a week, some sort of number, but for me, it just works really well. I get really emotional. I'm very dramatic and things affect me deeper than probably most people. And so sometimes I just need to take a day, cry about it, get over it. And the next day I'm fine. I'm totally fine. But I got to like have that kind of mourning process. And that works really well for me.
That's really good advice because it's not telling you that you could never be discouraged because then you would cease to be human, right? Yeah. And you said you're a woman of faith. So for goodness sakes, let's look at the Psalms. Psalms in the Bible, 151 chapters of people who were sad and had to pick themselves back up again. So clearly there was going to be sad days happening. So I really like that. You can cry about it today, mourn, cry, be sad, but you better get back up the next day or tomorrow. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now tell us. So now you're down in Coos Bay. Then reel us around and what happened next?
Sure. So we were in Coos Bay for 5 years. When I was there, I started a repurposing furniture business where I started to repurpose furniture, and friends started coming over and saying, "Gosh, your house is so beautiful. Like, you should really start doing this as a business, like doing interior design." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not that good at it." And I would just but I loved redoing furniture. Like I said, I had to do it in the beginning because we had no money. So it's all we could afford. But when my husband got his new job, obviously we were making a little bit better money, and we had bought our second beautiful home on the coast, an old historic home that we completely remodeled. And we were there 2 years, and then we got the notice that my husband's being transferred over to Central Oregon, where we currently live. We were so excited because we wanted to live where there was sunshine. We hated the rain. So it was such an answer to prayer. And so in 2013, we moved over to Prineville, and he took basically not really like a new position, same position with the same, he works for the state of Oregon, but just a different location. So things started to look up for us. So we bought our third home here in Prineville, and immediately, I don't know a single soul. Here I am starting over for the second time because we've just done it in Coos Bay. I'm a people person. I love people. I get my energy from being around people. And I probably cried my eyes out like the first month we were here because I'm like, I don't know anyone. I'm just a stranger in a new town. And I hate that feeling. I hate it. I wanted to know everyone, and I wanted to know them now. And so what could I do where I could meet people and get friends? I thought, you know what? I'm going to open a business. Everyone tells me I'm good at redoing furniture.
Okay.
Why not just step out in faith? And so 3 months after we moved here, I opened a home decor and furniture store called the Vintage Cottage. So that business was my 5 years. After the first year, we expanded. We were so big that we had to expand and get a new location. So I knew I couldn't do it without a little bit of financial help. So I applied for a loan through a small local company that helps entrepreneurs that maybe don't have a lot of credit or a lot of financial backing, and they help kind of new and up and coming businesses.
Okay.
And I had to do a business plan and present this huge package to them of why they should fund me. And they denied me. And I don't take no for an answer.
Okay.
So I called them and I said, why did you deny me? And they said, well, we just don't feel like, you have a good enough business plan and you're kind of new. You just haven't been around. You've only been around a year. You just don't stand the test of time yet. And I said, give me one more shot. And I presented a whole nother presentation to them and blew their socks off. And they were like, we've never in our history denied a business and then turned around and approved them. And we're going to approve them. And so they invested in me, and I was able to go from a little 500 square foot cottage to a 4,000 square foot building in downtown Pineville, like right in the home where all the traffic was happening. So it's pretty exciting. So that happened in 2014, and we became a household name. The internet was exploding, Instagram, Facebook, it was just exploding. And we had so many followers. We would have live events all the time. We would sell things online. We had our brick and mortar store, and we were just exploding. And so then in 2015, I decided to add an actual interior design branch where I would go and do interior design in people's homes. So in the meantime, we had sold our house in Pineville and bought a 100-year-old historic house in town. So this is now our fourth home. And we were remodeling that one from the studs up. And so every 2 years, we've owned a different home. And during those years, we've remodeled. And so I have my 3 children. I'm running this business. And I'm remodeling homes in the middle of all of this all at the same time. So if people say you can't do it, you can.
Yes,
Because
you can.
They were not in school yet.
Yes.
They were like in my store with me. Like people in town still see my kids and like, oh my gosh, they're so big. I remember when they were like 3 years old in the store. And they did. I just made it work. I made a little room in the back, and they got to draw and art and paint stuff, and they could watch cartoons, and other little kids would come play. And it was just kind of like a family business. And it was such a wonderful time in my life. As my kids got a little bit older, they started to be elementary, then middle school, and they were going to school. And my 2 oldest are in the same grade, and they were in 6th grade. And we just kind of felt like God was tugging at our hearts again to make a new change and to maybe start homeschooling them. And I was like, I swore I would never homeschool my kids.
What do they call that? They call that something. They call that what do they call that in counseling? A vow, a soul vow, or something of the sort like that, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever heard people say, don't ever say you won't with God, because he will make you do it. So here God's tugging on my heart to homeschool. Okay. And I'm like, heck no. I thought I would be running my business, my company for 20 years. I never saw an end date in my mind, in my business plan. Never. I just never thought that would ever happen. I loved what I did. My husband was super supportive. Our community was super supportive. I was involved in the community, and I just didn't even see that seriously threw me a curveball. And we prayed about it, and I was kind of kicking and screaming, I don't want to do this. God, I don't know what you're asking me to give up my dream. This is my dream. I'm in my purpose right now. Why would you ask me to give that up? And I just felt like God was like, no, your purpose is your children. And if you can't get then no other purpose really matters, because that's the most important job I have. So I put my store up for sale. And in 2018, I sold it to a wonderful, wonderful woman who I look up to this day. She's like my big sister. She's so wonderful. I just prayed that God would bring the right person around, and God blessed us because we were able to sell my business for 6 figures. And I decided to become a realtor. I thought, what's a job I could do that I have a passion for, and that I could make money and still be at home and homeschool my kids. And I thought, well, I already know everything about remodeling homes. I already know about design. I already know about the buying and selling process because I've done it multiple times. I really feel like real estate might be the next step for me. And so I kind of jumped in with both feet, and everyone told me, well, 90% of all realtors fail in the first year. You're not going to be successful. There's tons of realtors in this town. You're just going to be another realtor. There's thousands of realtors in our area, thousands. We live in a very, very outdoorsy area. I mean, Bend is the top 10 highest growing city in all of the United States right now. And we've got wonderful ski mountains. We have all this outdoor activity. We just have so much going for us. And there's a bajillion realtors here, like literally. And I told everyone that told me that, I said, yeah, how many of them are actually good? I just vowed that it doesn't matter how many realtors are out there. I'm going to be the best realtor, and I'm going to treat people the kindest so that I'm successful. And the first year I sold $4 million in revenue. And that was a little over 4 years ago. And I am now one of the top 10 realtors in Oregon. So I don't say that to boast. I say that because when you put God first and your family second and everything else falls into place, you will be blessed. And when you treat people kindly and you treat people right and you follow your heart and your dreams will come true.
That is so beautiful because our motto is those who refresh others will they themselves be refreshed, right? Yeah. And so you made a decision to basically treat your neighbors and treat others as you too would want to be treated, right? So nobody wants to be told, this is a bad word in our house. Nobody wants to be told they're stupid, right? Yeah. Nobody wants to be told that. I have a family member who moves slower, right? Slower because that's how the family member was created, right? But the Lord showed me early on, never call that family member Lazy, because it's just how that family member was created, to think, to reason at a slower, methodical, let's really look at this, And so as so you took time to become a student of others, right? How do you go in and truly engage with people? How do you go in not like look at people like, I'm going to get $1 out of you? But how do you genuinely go in to create relationships with people? And let's see, 4 million in revenue in the first year. That's past the proofs in the pudding.
Yeah, yeah.
It truly is. And so with somebody who thinks like you and me, you don't just stay in like one lane because your brain is always like, it's like, there's more stuff, it's like this creative space. So can you break down, how could someone learn to develop the skill of partnering with the creative realm?
I think it kind of goes back to the mindset. I hate to say, but it really goes back. Like if you're one of those people and you're like, gosh, I don't see vision. Like I've had people say, well, how do you see a room and envision where the furniture is going to go and where the pictures are going to go? And I go, it's just there. It's just in here. I don't know. It's just there. And so many people tell me, I feel like this is a good analogy. Well, I look at a room and I just see a room full of walls. I can't picture what it would look like, right? And so if you're one of those people where you're like maybe you don't have the vision, that's okay, but you got to train your mind. So if I were those people, I want to be an interior designer, let's just say.
Okay.
I should probably start by reading books on interior design. I should start looking at other interior designers. What are they doing? How do they do it? What's the protocol? All those things. Like start filling my mind with all of the things, learning everything I can about that field or whatever I want to go into. And soon your mind's going to start thinking about it just because you're basically diving into it every day. But if you're just like, I'm going to be an interior designer, but I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm not going to do anything that's going to help me get to that goal, how can you expect to get to that goal? Do you know what I mean?
That's right. Okay, now, because while you were talking, I thought of something. So if you were to go back, because it all, there's a starting point somewhere. There has to be a starting point, right? So your starting point was initiated in navigating through how do you get to where you want to go over there when you were 12 and decided to have Jessica's Lawn Service, right?
Yeah.
But there's always a starting point, right? So let's say there's somebody who wants to go somewhere, doesn't know how to go somewhere. Yes, you have books, but you could start with your own home, right? So how do you rearrange things in your own home to be different, right? How do you, let's try new colors. Let's, how do you do through, and one thing that's really fascinating about the mind, if you, another one of my favorites, we'll just throw her out here today too, is Dr. Caroline Leaf. Okay, this is Think, Learn, and Succeed. Dr. Caroline Leaf. Think, Learn, and Succeed. So Dr. Caroline Leaf, she was part of the scientist who neurologically proved that the brain is neuroplastic. So back in the day when people had gone through traumatic brain injuries and they said basically you're going to be a vegetable your whole life, there was a fire that rose up in Dr. Caroline Leaf that said, no, that can't be. That's impossible because the trees get naked and then the leaves grow back, right? So if the trees get naked and the leaves grow back, something's got to be different inside of the brain. And she proved that the brain is neuroplastic and could be reprogrammed.
Wow.
So she's great, but one thing that she mentions, she's got stacks of videos out there. She did clinical neuropsychology for 25 years. The last 15 years, she's traveled around the world, literally traveled around the world. But one thing she says is that all memories are encapsulated around an emotion. So let's pretend like this is a teardrop, okay? And now inside the teardrop or a water drop, we're going to put a memory. So all memories are encased inside of an emotion. So you only remember what you had an emotion attached to it. So if we go back what Jessica said it was the mindset. So if you are mentally, we're going to call this mentally, if you're writing out mentally sucks, so that would send some people in religiosity over the edge because I said that on camera. If you say sucks or this is stupid or this is bleep, bleep, bleep up, right? If this is what you were reciting to yourself, then it's like you got a junkyard in your mind. How are you going to produce something out of a junkyard? So here you are after the first year and you're like, let's go. So then take us from there.
From the first year of having the store?
Yeah,
or first year of real estate?
Real estate.
Oh, real estate. Okay. Well, I feel like for me, it was all like stepping stones, right? Like I opened this store. Okay. I got to know people, got to be kind of based in the community. And I feel like it was just orchestrated. Like, I never knew I was going to be a realtor, right? I thought I was in the store forever. So how did I know that owning the store was going to just morph me into a realtor? Well, if I hadn't have had that store, I probably, who knows, I might not have been a successful realtor. But because I had that store, I had formed these deep connections and relationships with people in our community who knew who I was, knew that I was who I said I was, that I was genuine. So when I became a realtor, they trusted me already. And that's one of the biggest things about being a realtor is, do they trust you? Do they think you're genuine? Or do they think you're just trying to make a sale? Right? And my whole life, I've always worried about, I don't want anyone to ever think I'm trying to make money off them because I would give people the shirt off my back. Like literally, I would give them, if they needed it, I would give it to them. There's tons of times in my store, someone would come in and be like, I just like, you know what, it's free today. Just take it. I want you to have it. I feel like we need to be blessed with that. There's so many times, like countless times I can tell you where God just coming to bless people. And so in real estate, people already trusted me. They knew that I was a genuine person. And so that just like catapulted me into a crazy first year, which rolled into a crazy second year, and it just keeps going and going and going. And all it takes is real estate, and I've heard this from many, and I will stand behind it. If you can get through the first year as a realtor, you are good. You are in. You have made it, because that first year, people usually just don't get a lot of business and end up quitting because they don't make enough money, right? They think they're going to make $1 million their first year, and they make $1,000, but they've spent 10. Because it does sometimes take money to make money, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't make it through that first year. After that first year, like, well, we tried, we're going to go find a real job, right? So I was lucky enough to have an explosive first year that rolled into the next year, the next year, the next year. And so it's just a referral-based business. And so you just get getting referrals after referrals after referrals, because treat people right and you do the right thing. And sometimes that means buying $1,000 refrigerator for someone, paying the $300 electrical bill because they couldn't pay it. I mean, sometimes you just do what's right, and it doesn't matter about the paycheck. Sometimes you have houses that you spend $1,000 on pictures and they end up pulling it off the market, and that's okay, because you have to do what's best for your clients. And if you have that mindset in any business, you will be successful.
That is great. And, if you think of the steps, the different steps as the time went on, really, it was, you would excel in one area, and then you excelled in another area, and excelled in another area. But now let's do a stage with a platform. And now let's put stairs all the way around the platform. So when you are on this space, you excelled in that space, which led you to the next space, which enabled you to excel, which led you to the next space, which enabled you to sell. Now you're on the platform of the stage, right? And now your brain is no longer, how do I get up? Instead, it's, how do I serve? How do I go out and serve more? And so now I'm going to surprise you with the question, what is the name of the orphanage that you will found in Thailand?
Oh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. I don't know, but I love that idea. I know that like my story's not over. I know I have big aspirations still. It's not like I've reached the top. It's not like that. I know that God has huge plans, and I truly believe to those who are given much, that much is required and expected. And so I don't take that lightly. And I don't think my adoption journey is over yet either. So I don't know. I wish I should have a name.
Write yourself a note. Jessica, I've been taking notes on you. Write yourself a note. What's the name of the orphanage in Thailand? Okay. And then we're going to transition, because Jessica just launched something new, or that is in the near vicinity of her home. And so tell our viewers about what you've launched on the property.
Sure. So we just launched an Airbnb that we're doing now. Is that what you were hinting towards? Okay. Yes. Our next kind of journey, we've got lots, you guys. If there's ADD medicine in 1990, I don't think there was, but I would have definitely been on it. I like go all day long. I can't sit still. My brain does not stop. And so I have a lot of ideas, but we just launched an Airbnb on our property. So we had an old structure building on our property, and we renovated it, and it's just the cutest little studio. And our next goal is to purchase 2 more homes in the next 2 years and use those as Airbnbs as well. And so we're on the hunt for our next purchase. We want our second home to be used as an Airbnb, and then we can bless others, because we can mark it out when we have friends or family or other people's friends and other people's family come. We can block it out and use that home to bless them so they can stay for free. And that's really our goal, is to kind of use it as a ministry, and also kind of build wealth at the same time. And so it's kind of like twofold, our plan here. And then my husband and I also have a huge passion to remodel and flip historic homes and kind of save historic homes from demolition. And so we've been talking a lot lately about what is our 5-year plan? What would that look like? how could we start our own company that would, we're dreaming of what that would be and how we can get him to retire early. And we have a lot of really cool old historic homes in our town, as you know, towns
Yes,
have.
yes, yes.
Our town was founded in 1868, so there's a lot of really neat homes, and a lot of them are, you know, crumbling and falling down, and we just want to restore, like, breathe life into something that everybody else thought was trash. And I think there's more meaning behind that. But we just really have this passion for that. And so we don't know if that would like fund some other kind of nonprofit that would go into third world countries and use the profit to build orphanages. I mean, my interior design business is called Joyful Home. And so biggest thing is I want people to think that whatever they do and whatever in their home or their family or their life, that it brings them joy. And so that's why we named my actual company is named Joyful Home. So
I love it.
What that would look like I
it.
said, I don't stop dreaming. I don't, just because you maybe reach a goal, you don't just stop there, or I feel like you kind of get ahead.
Yeah. And this is good, Jessica, because actually your whole interview has had the same theme, okay? And that is, how do you give oneself permission to stay in the creative realm? Okay? Yeah. So it was a couple of years back. My brain thinks fast like yours. My husband just always shaking his head like, what is she doing now? Right? But a phrase was dropped down into my spirit, and it was, if we're created in the image of the Creator, we're created to be creative. Therefore, we have a creative desire to want to create. Right? Mm-hmm. Now I'll say it slower. If we're created in the image of the Creator, we're created to be creative. Therefore, we have a creative desire to want to create. Everywhere we look on earth, creation never stops. Mm-hmm. And yet somehow there's been ADD, that's a bad word. Okay, I refuse to entertain that idea because I call it detailed meticulous. Okay, detailed meticulous, and I've made a lot of money off of being detailed meticulous. Okay, so it is, we can't say, you know, Johnny, Sarah, Bobby, Susie all need to think the same, because Johnny, Sarah, Bobby, and Susie were not created to all think the same. Okay, even if we think of the actual human body. Okay, my eyelids were created to function a certain way to protect my eye gate. Even the little hair in my ears, right? Or think of all the different hair we have around our body. If all these different things, you know, our sinuses here, or our tonsils, and how they were created to be like the first catcher of anything trying to come into our body, right? Mm-hmm. With purpose. Everything is with purpose. But somehow we drank the Kool-Aid as humans, that we got to a certain number age and we were supposed to have our SHIT all together. Mm-hmm. And we should have figured it out by now. And da-da-da-da, instead of just, and I just want to say this because it's coming to my mind, that if you would but give yourself permission today, I don't care what took place over here, today. And with that, Jessica, I would like you to speak a word of encouragement that would, like, our viewers, to how do you start today to change the trajectory of the rest of your life?
Yeah. Gosh, it's kind of cliche, but I would just say work hard. Like, just do it. Just do it. Like, you have to start somewhere. You have to take the first step. Do it. Make the phone call. Check on Google. Like, Google what you're thinking. Do it.
Yes,
Google
yes.
it. Just take the first step. Google it. Just do it. Like, talk to somebody that does it. I mean, just the first step. Just get on the phone. Do it. Get on the computer. Do it. Do not let doubt and discouragement hold you back. Like, you just have to do it. No one's going to do it for you.
No one. Would you also say, Jessica, that no one has authority or control over your own mind?
no, no. You really have the authority. And so if there's bad thoughts or like, I can't do this or she can do it, because trust me, I've had those thoughts like, well, she can be successful, but that's not going to happen to me. I'm not anything special. Like, why would I be successful? She can though, right? We believe other people can. We truly believe, wow, that's so cool when so-and-so does this or so-and-so does that. But we have a hard time believing it for ourselves. And I think that's really common, especially with women. We are great cheerleaders for our friends, but we are terrible at believing in ourselves. And that's just such a lie from the enemy. Like God created, like I said, to be creative. God created you
Yes.
for great things. And he wants you to do those things, and it's never too late. I remember like literally 3 weeks ago, I was at church and they had prayer, and I went up and I'm like, I just turned 40. So I've been feeling this, like I didn't accomplish everything I wanted, and it's all downhill from here. I got prayer from this guy, and I said, I just feel this stirring in my heart, like God has something different for me coming. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like I missed the mark. I feel like I'm too old. I feel like I'm so focused in business, I maybe missed God's call. And he just started laughing. I think he was probably in his 70s or 80s, and he was praying for me, and he started laughing. He's like, girl, you are not too old. You are just beginning. So you're never too old. You really aren't.
That's right. That's right. You know, and Jessica, you may have to be changing your business cards, because let's see, what does this word spell? COACH. Oh, what's the word before it? BUSINESS. Because you know there is you're a woman of faith, and so there's a verse. There's a verse that says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of all compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all of our trials, so that we may comfort those in their trials with the comfort that we ourselves received." Mm-hmm. And I value that you've taken the time to give to us today, so that you can take you and your Sagion self, wisdom carrier self, right? Who refused to partner with failure. You refused. You refused to partner with failure. And I really appreciate the example that you've given us in what does it look like to partner with the creative realm, right? You didn't go to interior decorator school, and yet you had a 4,000 square foot facility that you sold for 6 figures. Let's see, what did Jessica share with us today, viewers? Oh, that she found a piece of furniture on the side of the road, and she flipped it. She flipped it, the furniture on the side of the road. And I really think in Thailand, the name of your home is going to have to do breathing life into what others view as trash.
Oh.
And whatever would sum up that name. What does this word mean? In Tagalog is what they speak in Thailand, right? Oh no, Tagalog is Filipino.
Yeah, they just speak Thai.
Thai. Oh, Thai. Okay. So I just thank you. I bless you for coming on our program today, and I just for all your future adventures. I know the day I met Jessica was through an assignment, and I'm like, I like her, Lord. I want to be her friend. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but here we are. So until our next program, I would just say to everybody, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon me. Blessings. Bye.
Bye, guys.